Welcome to our third monthly meeting of Iconographers, and this time we'll be talking about role of method and how the method is applied, or how can it be applied in our work. And welcome. So now I will start sharing my screen. I hope you like what you see. So I had this image sent to me yesterday by my friend, fellow iconographer, Ivan Polverari. And he said, wow, how cool, how brave, how special. Well, okay, let's move forward, but let's begin from something connected to iconography. And we will speak about the role of method in iconography. But first, I want to show you some images that can help us to see ourselves from a distance. Because I often see iconographers feel privileged compared to other artists. Iconographers often say, well, let me just probably take this down. How can I take, okay, I think I should do it like that. So when iconographers talk about themselves, they say, about the contemporary artists, they say, these guys don't know what they do. They always resort for some, I don't know, impossible things. They are trying to find things which we don't know, and we have nothing in common with these contemporary artists. And in many aspects, it is true, but I wish it wasn't. Because when we think of iconography as a way of communication, we have lots and lots of things we can learn from our fellow artists, because we artists, we are also artists. And now I'm moving towards the main content of the lecture, because here what we see is something simple, courage, and just two colors. Simplistic shapes, but how great is the impression? And I think we can all agree with this. Ancient guys had a gut. Moving to our time, we can Google something like DIY ceramics, and we can actually create things like that. Or we can think of DIY painting ideas and arrive to things like that. So colors are bright, and I guess anybody can do it. Colors are bright, and the best thing, we can do it with our local, I don't know, stuff. We can buy gouache or watercolor in the nearest shop, and we can perform things like that and hang it on our wall. So why not? Everybody can have the final picture slightly different, but we all will take this image as a model, as most definitely we will achieve some acceptable results. So the technique is clear, yes, you draw the tree, you paint the areas with green and blue, or first you draw the areas with green and blue, and then you draw the tree, and you get it done. And it's not a canon, but a good thing. It's an idea to follow. Is it good? I would say it is, because anyone can create a piece of art, being free to choose certain details and colors. We can try Googling DIY furniture. I found this one. And we need some instruments. Well, we need some tools. Okay, somebody is joining us. Gavin. So thinking of an image of furniture like that, it's something special, but it's also simple, and we can do it. The idea allows us to achieve a good result with no special training. Well, you need a method, you need certain precision in cutting things, but you don't have to be a designer or to study art. You just follow the model, and every visiting friend of yours will say, wow, John, wow, Philip, how cool is this? Well, you may be tired of listening about these things, but my idea is that many people who come to learn iconography, have about the same understanding of how icon writing or icon painting is performed. You take a model, you mix the learn paint, you follow certain steps, and here you are. Icon of Saint Athena or Athens, I guess. Or here is an icon of Saint Michael. Well, did this person follow method? I guess so. We see a painting done in layers, we see gilding, we see highlights, and we can see that probably it is a little too much oversimplified. Well, let's move to a more professional one. And I see someone who knew how to hold brush in hand has performed it. It's a lot of work, but from the other hand, I don't see if this artist wanted to say something or he just wanted to follow a model. I guess it's rather the second. So he mounted this image as we could have mounted the first picture or as we could have mounted this piece of furniture. He is mounting it together. And here, I think it is a little more complicated. Well, probably he had a model for inspiration, like this one. Oh no, something wrong. I'm showing you something wrong, or am I showing you something right? I don't know. Well, his model probably looked like that. But when you look at the contemporary one, you see that the method in itself looks very much like DIY icon. He knows what to do. And the purpose of his method is to make the painting process quick, to make the image look traditional and perform it quickly. Like this one. And there are hundreds and hundreds of contemporary icons like this. They do look like icons, but something is missing. And now this one. And now it's a question to everybody. I'd like to probably hear your opinion. If you don't mind answering, is there anything but a method? So do you see anything except for the method? Can you say some words maybe? Anything more than a method? Anything extra? Or it's just the mounting procedure. You take the screwdriver, you take the pieces of wood, and you just join them together.
So it's like painting by numbers.
I have this feeling. I feel that he only followed the steps he was told the most precisely possible because he was afraid of ruining this piece of furniture he was mounting together or drawing this picture of a tree with apples or whatever. Because if you look at the one on the left, what about it? It also has the method. Yes, or Margarita?
And the old one is alive. And
yes.
And the right, no.
Yes, the new one is not alive. The old one is. Yes.
And the first speak with me, and the other no. And with the first, when the old one, I can have a relation, and with the second, no. With the new, with the copy.
Yes.
And the eyes of the copy, I don't know where you are looking.
It's very stylized, isn't it?
Well, I guess with the word stylized, you probably mean he was exactly following the method he was told. Because the one on the left, the old one, is also stylized. we usually do not make portrait of our friend in this style. Yes, it's stylized. It's not a picture, it's not a photograph, it's not a realistic image. But it still is made to communicate with us. Yes, we feel it to be talking to us directly. And the new one is made according to the rules, but it's not talking to us. And it's not the problem of the method, because now I will show you this one, which if you analyze from technical point of view, it's very, very technical. Yes, you see all the brushstrokes. You see every little part, and you can do it as well. Like, okay, this area is more highlighted, this area is more shaded. Yes, very simple from point of view of technique. And any beginner iconographer may wish to repeat it. But if you try to distract yourself from technique, to think of it as an image, you will feel that it's appealing to you. It's talking to you and communicating. So being faithful to the method, he is still trying to make this image to be image of the Mother of God. And that's it. Because if you're painting an icon, the method should be helping you. And even in this case, the method was clear and it helps you to create an image of Mother of God, but you have to mean it. In this moment, it's what you intend to make. Because there are many images where people try to make icons, and I would say, like, creating things like that, they are making unfinished replicas, or if you take things like that, they try to replicate some feeling of some occasional encounter with the eyes, but all the rest around is just messy. So why is that? Because there was no method. So in this case, method is a great thing because it helps to focus. In this case, method is lacking because the person was only repeating the outlines. But from the other hand, when we come back here, the method is a burden, because even doing what we are supposed to do, we don't achieve the result we'd like to achieve, because that's the pure method. So there should be some way between. And things like that. Okay, we have somebody with a halo, which supposedly is a religious painting, as some brushstrokes of different colors, which would tell us it's a contemporary piece of art. But thinking of it as a possibility to use it as an icon, I guess we'll probably fail, because these artists were playing, and then it didn't mean these images to be used as icons. Our eyes are just wandering around without focusing, because as we know, the result very much depends of what we want to achieve. Like here, teeny tiny, very little icon of genius iconographer Anatoly Teneyer, Moscow. I think he would be about 70 years old now. And we clearly see here, he had a method, but his model for him was only an excuse to make his own version using means of art. So, and these means of art tell us whether to trust the image or not, and where they lead us, where the beauty is leading us. Maybe I can ask you one more time, can you verbalize? I'm sure we can. Can you say, like, where do these visual instruments are trying to lead us? What they suggest us to feel, to go, to have impression of. Any thoughts of yours?
I find it very hard to put it into words. It's as if that some of the images, like the Pantocrator that you were showing first, if you put all the right instructions into a computer, it could have produced that. But this image has human frailty because it's not perfect. It's in terms of the application of paint, it's not perfectly smooth, where skin might be expected to be smooth. Its imperfection is what says something to me.
Well, imperfection here is also very important. This one also has lots of imperfections, but how we can use it.
It's just too many. It's so distracting.
So it's a good balance of imperfections.
Yeah. I mean, it could not have been painted by a computer. That's where some of the others could have. Yeah.
That's for
As
sure.
I say, I struggle to find words for saying, oh well, yeah, that I like that and I don't like that, and I can't work out why. And it's sometimes in certain kinds of art, say my field of music, an unfamiliar style will repel me at first, but after a while I'll start to learn how to understand it. I don't have to learn how to understand this, I already do, and I don't know why.
Okay, because here we can clearly say he is appealing to us, he's talking to us with means of art, and he knows how to use them. So he has tuned them so well that they touch particular buttons in our brain, in our heart, in our soul, so that we feel in a certain way. And that's what professional artists are supposed to know how to be aware of and to actually do, like to operate with art, touching you to have you feel certain things. So I guess our next Zoom will be called Means of Art for this purpose, because that probably is something will be always very interesting to speak of. Any more thoughts, like where this image is leading us, or what are the main qualities he tried, or no, I know it was him. He tried to provide the viewer, the beholder, with the image.
I find this one quite confusing from the neck up, especially. It looks to be one dimension, whereas from the neck down, there is a few lines that give you the idea that it's coming across her bosom, if you like, and the sleeve and so on. But the head features, I think, are quite confusing. Personally, if it was used for prayer, or if I used it for prayer, I'd be looking more at the imperfections on the iCloud, I think it's called, the background where all the nails are stuck in.
Yes, that's true. That's true. He could have had his nails arranged better, with less attention to them. I totally agree. Okay, thank you, Gavin. Yes, it's up to the artist whether to make image more three-dimensional, more bidimensional, and yet it's important that we capture what he is trying to say, like what he is or she is trying to tell us, and sometimes the words not necessarily were chosen appropriately. So the words sometimes are wrong, but the very message the person is trying to deliver, that's what we should be trying to capture. And I guess he was trying to capture, to render this, I don't know, simplicity at the same time together with some depth of inspiration and other things. I hear someone producing some undesirable sounds. I probably will have to mute everybody So we don't hear. Oh, yes, that was one person. And another thing I'd like to show you is this, because comparing things, we may compare each other's work, or we may compare ourselves to others, because having things put next to one another, we have this possibility to compare the values, the main ideas we want to share, the main direction we are going, and how to make an image become you want, the way you want, and how you just follow the method. So in this case, I guess it's simple controlling yourself. You control yourself in every decision you make, and you check whether the decision is bringing you to where you want to arrive, or you make the decision just because you used to make it this way. So in many cases, our colleagues are just used to make certain decisions which guarantee their product will look like an icon. But in many cases, it's not really bringing us where the old models are, because it always depends on the choices. Like in this case, the choice was made to make your image bright, to make it belong to the jar, and as a decorative piece of art, it works perfectly well. It's a wonderful thing which does not require our attention to be focused for several hours. Yes, it is what it is. It's done the way it was supposed to be done. But if it's an icon, it should probably be something more complex, and at the same time, yet the poetry of visual approach, the poetry of art, is the possibility to let the beholder stop and look at your icon and start trusting you, because it's the art whether we trust or not, because that's the only thing we cannot sell. It's something which is always sincere, then we recognize it as art. Or if it's something invented or imitated, then you recognize it as a decoration, as a play, as a construction to shock the beholder, but never art. And the last thing I'd like to show you, just my personal request as a PS at the end, don't make your work too sweet and pious, please, because that is the moment when you put too much sugar all over your dish. That moment you start feeling like, okay, this dish is supposed to be the main course, but why this master has added so much sugar to it? I probably will have to reconsider and think of it as a dessert. Should I think this, should I believe this to be a serious talk to me, or it's a decoration of my life and is a dessert? Not sure. That is it. So it's about choices and applying the method. Did he have the choice? Yes. Did he apply the method, or she? Yes. But where this method brought this person to create a highly decorative piece of image, which mostly is showing how beautiful is everything, instead of just trying to bring us to God. Well, this is my personal interpretation, and I may be wrong, but my eyes tell me I'm not. Thanks, everybody, for the attention. And sorry for probably maybe too long explanations, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Sorry for muting you down, because that's always a great opportunity to analyze yourself, because discovering things is not only saying, oh, wow, this is cool, but what this can mean for me. So if that would be something for you. Listen, but you should unmute yourself first. On the bottom, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still a bit confused about that aspect, but the more I listen to you and and the iconography conference, that more, it brings me out of that confusion. But because when I first did classes in Sydney, I was told to more or less copy the method and don't go out of the boundaries at all. You don't apply yourself at all. But I seem to understand from you to say we can apply yourself and be your own artist as long as you keep to the authenticity of the image. And like you said, you make the choices, but the choices are with a basis or a fundamental thing. You're not just making a choice because you want yellow or making a choice based on an inherent religiosity, I suppose, in a sense. So, yeah, I'm sort of a bit scared to become my own artist because I might be moving away from the method, but then I don't want to follow the method either. Yeah, I don't trust myself.
Well, I would say that's why we're having the models, because they tell us the road where you would like to arrive. Yeah, you probably will choose a slightly different turn, but you arrive to about the same destination. Yes, not road, destination. And that's it. You compare your method, your choices with the destination you want to achieve. Like, if I do this, will I still achieve my destination? Yes, I will. Or I will not. So that's what they suggest. Our models suggest us the destination. I mean, the old ones suggest the destination. That's it.
But what happens when you get people that critique it because it doesn't look like, an icon? That's what I get trouble with. People say, "Oh."
Okay, I would divide your question in two parts, because first would be people who say this image and your image don't look alike, which I will answer yes. If you want it alike, you click the button and it's printed in a second. And the second one, when these guys were producing their images in 15th century, let's say, they were making them for people of their time. And that was their current trends, schools, and visual language to operate. I'm now responsible to make my images talk to people of contemporary time. And again, I'm trying to adjust myself with the destination where to arrive, yet using possibly different means. I may use train instead of a cart. Yes, not riding a horse, riding a bicycle, but yet arriving to the same point in the city. So that's what's important. We invent the new means because we want to talk to new people, people spoiled or used too much of visual information from different sources from everywhere. And yet we bring these people together with us to the same destination. We talk to them very seriously about values of religious life and spirituality and so forth. Because even if you're choosing something contemporary, it has to be some decent thing. Yes, it should be showing that your choice was a decent one. Like, okay, it's extraordinary contemporary, but it serves the same purpose. It's not just to make fun of something, not to demonstrate how cool these things can be contemporary, but to say, you know what, today, this is the best instrument to bring you from here to there. To tell you this part of the sacred history, I will need to utilize contemporary words because that's how it's best to knock into your door.
And I wonder whether we get sucked into, drawn into the age of icons, so that, I mean, even when we're overseas in countries that like Greece and in Russia and buying icons from the souvenir shop, those icons are brand new, but are made to look old. Why? And so, I mean, we modern artists, I mean, they might learn a lot about their art by imitating the great masters of the Renaissance, but we don't paint Renaissance art anymore. I think, and one of the things you were saying, it troubled me in my early days of painting icons. I didn't like what I'd painted. I have to stare at it for months before I would like it, because it didn't look like the model. And until I was able to do some self-talk and say, no, hang on, this is my icon. It's not a clone of that one. I had when I was learning liturgy, there was a lot of, particularly in Protestantism, oh, well, we write our own, we don't have to follow the rules. And our teacher saying, no, go right back to the original liturgists, examine what they were doing and why they were doing it. Once you understand the basics of what the liturgy is about, then do what you like, but only when you've got a basis. My first icon instructor, he was in the early days, was very firm on the no. Look, we only do Byzantine. No, you can't branch out. You can't do your own. We're doing this. But he got to a point where he was saying, look, do what you like, so long as you know who you're insulting. So I think what he meant by that was, if you know the basics, and if you are deviating from that, know that that's what you are doing, and know why you're doing it.
Yes, they're good points, Peter, for sure.
So now I don't look at my icons. As soon as it's finished, the model has to go away. And I think that was something that reminds me of something that you were telling us years ago, Philip, when you were exhibiting an exhibition in Washington, and the curator was saying, no, you don't put all the Mother of Gods side by side and all the Pantocrator side by side, because as the viewer comes along, that one is being compared with that one instead of standing on its own as it's in its own integrity.
Yes. Well, of course, there are different types of approaches, because in a church, you have to plan the images to be part of the space, and okay, how I want to organize this space. I want this bigger one here, this smaller one there, for you to feel in harmony, but yet not too much harmony. Otherwise, it's too much sugar and so forth. But in environment of an exhibition, the visitor is supposed to see each of them separately. So put them contrasting, right? The one with the red background put next to, I don't know, gray background, and so forth, so that your eye switches differently, changes all the adjustments for every new image. Yes, that's right. And that was a great discovery for me as well. Yes.
Philip, when you're painting icons for a church, is the environment, is the church, is the architecture, is the color a consideration in choosing? Yeah.
Very much. Yes, it's the architecture which would tell me what to do, what not to do. Sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to adjust the architecture. It sounds crazy, but in this last one, No, not exactly. You do it with your own means. Like this wall is boring, put something bright on it. Or this part of the building has already lots of teeny tiny details, put a large flat piece on top. It will be different, it will be contrasting. Or the last iconosis I was making, I did my best to underline, to give accent to vertical lines, so to lift the feeling of the beholder who would be entering this place. Because otherwise, if the ceiling is low, you feel depressed. So it very much is possible to do. But you just have to be aware of, okay, in this building, there is something I feel is wrong, what it is. Should I change it? Should I just slightly adjust it? Yeah, it's very interesting always. And well, I can't imagine myself working in a Baroque church, but I never had an opportunity yet. But that could be an interesting challenge too. It could be something, that could be interesting.
Because how modern could icons look in a Baroque church?
Again, it's important to show that they were made considering the context, in consideration of what is already here. Because just bringing any icon, any old style or contemporary style into the existing complex is a mess, because it's like applying a piece of one fabric on a shirt of a different fabric without thinking. Like, okay, the new one is new, the old one is new, but does it allow them to work well together? So this is the question.
Don't have to pretend. You don't have to make it pretend as if it's old.
No, you don't have to, but you have to show it's cooperating, it's coping. Okay, so because otherwise with your work, which probably is perfect, you will diminish all the meaning of what's been done before you. Or Peter, you may remember we entered the Smolny Cathedral in St. Petersburg, where a Baroque church was filled up with contemporary Byzantine style icons with golden background. So Baroque.
And you said, I feel sick.
Well, I did. Because Baroque does have lots of gold, but it's spread. It's spread here and there with little pieces, and you don't have these mirrors of square meters of golden surfaces. So that was wrong. Yeah. And again, that's a question of adjustment. If you're willing to adjust, the viewer will see it, and it's always appreciated. So it's just a question of tact. Very often contemporary iconographers have the method first of all, and they say, according to my method, I have to do it this way. Come on, you're bringing it somewhere in an existing environment. No, the method is more important. And then we have this environment totally, squashed. And in the middle here is gilded icon, and in the empty space, in the middle of everything else doesn't matter. So that's that. So that's it. So time of choices, time of constant choices, and thinking all the time. That's it. Okay. Any more questions, comments, objections, complaints, anything? So Margarita, you have to unmute yourself because you're muted now. Please click an appropriate button on your device.
Okay, now?
Yes, now it works.
Excuse me. And I want to say something about the inspiration from other kind of art. And I think another thing, the inspiration from nature, for example. Sometimes take photos to ground with a lot of leaves in various colors, or rock. I like very much rock on the color and the texture of rock. And I think that sometimes also from nature you can have inspiration to your icons. Non so se sono riuscita a spiegarmi.
Yes, no. If I can rephrase, but Margarita, your environment sound is terrible. I'm muting you. I'm sorry, because we have some sound which is do all the time. So what you were saying, especially in Italy, where you have such a beautiful mountain and rocks, we may be inspired for creativity by seeing particular richness of natural objects such as rock, plants, trees, and anything else. Yes, I completely share this thing, and especially here, we always have inspiration is old wood, which does have its richness. So we are inspired because we see this richness which was created by someone. We probably know who, but which also was influenced by things we feel and we know, like the rock was some moment, I don't know, created, but then it was subordinated by under some movements, under some specific processes, millions of years, and that's what we see. We don't see just the rock. We see how it evolves in time and stopped in a certain moment, and that's the beauty. We can be inspired by it, and of course we can use it, but always, again, it's how we use it, because it's such a characteristic and beautiful and bright voice. We can't just implicate it in our image. Like I saw icons painted on marble directly, and you have to have a lot of tact to paint on marble, because the marble is rich already. It has so much to say that your voice just has to add something, a little bit, teeny tiny, kind of 2 words to what's been created before, then it can be working. So yes, inspiration is great, but be humble enough to obey what's been done before you and to have enough tact to incorporate yourself, your own work in what's been created. Because simply putting a piece of rock somewhere, it's like, okay, it's beautiful, but is there any dialogue between what you are doing and this rock? You have to create this dialogue. Then it will be the coolest thing.
One of our members is a woodworker, and she comes up with wonderful pieces of wood. And she had this piece of wood which had a whole hollowed out piece in it. And it's difficult to see that it's hollowed out, but Elijah is painted in the hollow. So she gessoed inside the hollow. So Elijah's in his cave, in a cave.
Which is a piece of wood inside. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's a great dialogue.
Yeah.
I would probably have left the surface of the wood less polished to say it's raw, as a raw rock. Now it looks polished. No, not very good. Too bad. But the idea is great. Yes, I'm totally with you.
No, that's not polished.
Ah, okay. It's a photograph. All right.
Oh. Yeah, no, it's not polished. No. And yeah, she's a Greek woman she hasn't been painting long, but she comes up with some interesting ideas.
She knows how to create the dialogue.
Well, she does.
Okay. If she has any website or Instagram to share, I'd love, I don't know, if you could share it. somewhere.
I can't even get her to. She's so self-effacing. We're having an exhibition, and she won't put any of her beautiful works in the exhibition.
Too bad.
It is too bad.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sir Margarita. Thank you, Gavin, and thank you, Ellison, for sharing your thoughts. And I guess next time is going to be the 24th of September or 22nd of September. Well, there is Saturday somewhere in September. Let me check. It should be, yes, the 24th of September is the Saturday. So I'll make the new one then. And we'll be speaking about the means of art. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for coming, and see you next time.
Thanks, Philip.
Good.
Yes, nice to meet you, Gavin. Sister, ciao.
Thank you, Margarita. Thank you,
Ciao.
Gavin.
Thank you.
Peter. Thank you,
Bye
Elisa.
all.
Thank you.